prevention team. First of all, I want to thank many of you for joining this session. We had 720 people registered, and I imagine that many people will be listening to this online. Just to flag that we have interpretation into French and Spanish. You'll probably be aware, but to access interpretation, you'd hit the little globe at the bottom, and then you Spanish or English. This digital dialogue is part of a digital dialogue series. There are 8 of them happening every Wednesday. The first one was 2 weeks ago on online violence. Last week we had one on alternative care, today on child marriage. The next ones are on justice for children, ending violence in and through schools, parenting, and so on. These are all in follow-up to the first ever ministerial conference that happened in Bogotá, which was a great success. We had over 1,500 people attending, children, young people, survivors, heads of agencies, civil society groups, and most importantly, we had 112 countries making very solid pledges. So this digital dialogue series is really intended to help these government and civil society groups working with the governments to actually implement the pledges and to keep moving the discussion forward, but also to create a link between the different topics. So from parenting and digital safety and child marriage, how can we make a link between these different areas of work? Without further ado, we have a great program today. We'll be having first some opening remarks from Canada and from the UNICEF UNFPA Global Program to End Child Marriage. Then we have a wonderful keynote speech. Then Dr. Faith Mwangi-Powell from Girls Not Brides will be leading us through a great high-level dialogue with government representatives. Then we have a roundtable with CSO representatives and a presentation by WHO. We'll be carefully tracking the Q&A, so please pop your questions into the Q&A and we'll try answer them, and we'll also hopefully have space for actually answering in person. And without further ado, I want to hand over to Isabel Solon Halal, who's Deputy Director for Sexual and Gender-Based Violence in Global Affairs Canada. Over to you, Isabel.
Thank you, Sabine, and thank you to Girls Not Brides, World Health Organization, and our friends at UNICEF for bringing us together for this important conversation and for the invitation to speak on behalf of Canada. My name is Isabelle Solon-Hilal, and I'm the Deputy Director for Gender-Based Violence and Child Protection at Global Affairs. My team leads Canada's work on child early and forced marriage. At last year's Ending Violence Against Children Ministerial in Bogotá, Canada, alongside the UK and Zambia, recognized the need to accelerate efforts to end child early and forced marriage by 2030. We committed to supporting grassroots movements, UN partners, and governments that are making change happen. Today's discussion is occurring amidst an increasingly difficult global context of insecurity and economic constraints. As we work together to end child early and forced marriage, we must confront a shifting landscape. Increasing gender equality pushback threatens progress, while global cuts to international assistance add new layers of challenge for donors, national governments, grassroots movements, and most importantly, for girls. And in a world that is prioritizing other issues, our greatest challenge is clear: to make an undeniable case for why ending child marriage must remain a global political and development imperative. This work deserves our continued commitment and collaboration across all sectors. Since 2014, Canada and Zambia have co-led the biennial UN General Assembly resolution on ending child marriage. It is a key global marker of political will. We have seen broad cross-regional support from countries for the resolution grow, from 106 countries in 2016 to an all-time high of 125 co-sponsors in 2022 and 123 in 2024. And while progress has been made, building global momentum to end child marriage, especially in high-burden countries, remains critical. That is why we are counting on your partnership ahead of the 2026 CFM resolution. Co-sponsoring the UNGA resolution is a signal of collective resolve to end this harmful practice. During our last round of negotiations, we heard the priorities from member states from education to employment and to sexual and reproductive health. These issues are key to preventing and ending child marriage, and through our programming, we are advancing these shared priorities by investing in adolescent girls' health rights and futures. Let me end with one story. In Zimbabwe, through a Care Canada project, we supported 90% reduction in school dropouts linked to child marriage. One participant, Natasha, a high school student, faced intense family pressure to become the 11th wife of her cousin's fiancé. This would have meant leaving school and taking up a role as a wife and likely becoming an adolescent mother. But she resisted. And she went to the police, and with help from teachers, community champions, local leaders, and the police, she was able to decline the proposal and remain in school. Her courage and systems that backed her show what is possible when communities stand with girls. So as our work faces increasing challenges, let's keep working together. For those who have co-sponsored past CFM resolutions, thank you. And to those considering, we keenly invite you to join us in 2026. Together, we can end child marriage and create a future where every girl is free to choose her own path. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel. You bring us from the state of the world that we're in today, which is complicated, down to a true story of a person. So thank you for acknowledging both of those. And with that, I want to hand over to Veronica Kamanja Nichiko from UNICEF UNFPA Global Program to End Child Marriage.
Thank you so much, Sabina, and thank you so much, Isabel, always for inspiring words. Dear colleagues, partners, and friends, it gives me an enormous pleasure to join you today at this critical dialogue on accelerating progress towards ending child marriage, part of our collective efforts to accelerate progress on commitments made at the first ever Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children in Bogotá, as already mentioned by the previous speaker. And I think the Bogotá pledges were a turning point for all of us, including at the Global Program to Ending Child Marriage, where we saw over 100 governments committed to concrete actions across different priorities, including the agency that they made on ending child marriage. And together, we affirm that violence against children is not inevitable, and that ending it is not only a moral imperative for all of us, but a smart investment. Why am I saying this? I think costing far less than long-term impact of our inaction, which was costed to be 5% of national GDP. So committing and working on accelerating action towards eliminating violence against children, including child marriage, is critical for all of us. And at UNICEF, and indeed at the Global Program on Ending Child Marriage, we are very proud to contribute to post-Bogotá agenda, supporting governments to translate the commitments made into lasting change for adolescent girls. And where are we now on child marriage post the Bogotá commitment to the governments that signed up and all of us, including UNICEF? Ladies and gentlemen, I think we do know that currently every year, 12 million girls worldwide are married before the age of 18. This means 12 million childhood cut short, robbing girls of their rights, safety, and potential. And we know that child marriage exposes girls to many issues: adolescent pregnancy, gender-based violence, and cutting their limited lifetime opportunities, among many others. But I think there is hope. After Bogotá Convention, we also see that despite the challenges, progress is very possible, thanks to our collective action, including the member states that signed during that particular time. And maybe if I can take you back through our collective efforts in the last 25 years, over 68 million child marriages have been averted. This is huge achievement for all of us. And over the last decades, it means that then girls were being married, 1 in 4 girls married in childhood to 1 in 5. And thanks to our collective achievement, as I already mentioned. And if I can spotlight South Asia as a region, I think in South Asia, in the last years, the likelihood of a girl marrying in childhood has halved in the last 10 years from 46% to 26%. And as I mentioned, these are results of a deliberate investment in education, in legislation, in social protection, community mobilization, and many other. And then since the global program to end child marriage, we work in 12 countries. Let me spotlight a few of the achievements from our recently launched annual report, which we launched coincidentally 2 days ago. We see that in India, government investment in social protection has remained a critical intervention within India in the efforts to end child marriage. We have seen government deliberately investing in social protection. In 2024 alone, over 2.2 girls were linked to schemes like Ladri Raskmi Yojan and Karashi Pakapa, while UNICEF advocacy in Uttar Pradesh also led to an increase in cash benefits, reaching 1.9 million this year alone, thanks to the leadership of the government of India. And in Uganda, I think in child marriage, we also want adolescent girls' voices in defining what they want. We've seen also in Uganda new child reference groups in the 3 localities where girls and young people are influencing policy and budgets that affect their lives and amplifying their voices to end child marriage, thanks to the leadership of the government of Uganda. And in Zambia, we've also seen the First Lady, Mrs. Mutita Hichileme, selected child marriage as a key advocacy theme in response to the global program to end child marriage. Things these decisions are also commendable coming from leadership alone. And then lastly, in Uganda, we've also seen accelerated progress on ending child marriage, where the government of Ghana has also committed addressing child marriage through integrating child marriage intervention in large-scale government social protection. There are so many examples that we've captured in our 2024 reports, with many governments taking a commitment to end child marriage head-on in policy reform, legal reform, budget, and also putting adolescent at the center of the programming. These examples just reflect what's possible when government, communities, young people lead with purpose and evidence. Although challenges do persist, but with these examples, I'm hopeful that the road to ending child marriage with commitment and purpose is possible. And that's why at UNICEF, we remain resolute. Through the global program, we are committed to supporting member states to scale what works with the evidence that we collect to inform the entire ecosystem, investing social protection, social norms change, education, and what have you. And we are also working with member states to integrate solutions across systems, leveraging health, child protection, education to meet the comprehensive needs of an adolescent girls. And I think as Isabel already mentioned, through their support, we are also being intentional in strengthening partnership, not only with government, feminist organization, other donors, UN agencies, just like today, we are working collaboratively with WHO and GNB, and we are also committed to ensure that we support government to mobilize and resource heavily national action plan to end child marriage, particularly unlocking domestic financing and catalyzing private sector towards ending child marriage. And lastly, I think we are also board to support the ecosystem in bridging research and action through the collaboration that we are proud of with WHO, GNB, Innocenti, and any other partners, so that we are able as a collective to accelerate learning and innovation. So to end my note today, I think I look at this dialogue as a great opportunity, not only to renew or review progress, but also to reignite the momentum, because child marriage is preventable. I've shown you already how much we've reduced child marriages we've averted in the last 25 years. So ending child marriage is very possible. Together, I think we can work together, and the powerful entry to this is working together as an ecosystem to address broader gender equality issues and sustainable development goal. And I will end with this emphasis as well. Progress is possible. When we invest in our girls, listen to their voices, uphold their rights, we can create lasting change for the adolescent girls and end child marriage by 2023. Thank you so much. Let me end my statement there on behalf of the Global Program to End Child Marriage. Thank you so much, Sabina.
Thank you, Veronica. A beautiful compliment to Isabel, and thanks for highlighting the partnership work that we all are.
I think we've lost Sabine. I think we can carry on, and I think the next speaker is our keynote speaker, Loveness Muduru. Thank you so much, Loveness. Please take the stage. We hope that Sabine will be able to join us, and we are delighted that you are able to present. I just had to step in so that we carry on. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much to Sabine and Isabella and Veronica for those wonderful statements that they have just made. I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and greetings to everyone joining this dialogue today. My name is Loveness Muzuru. I am a survivor of child marriage, a youth advocate, and I'm currently the programs consultant at Rosary Memorial Trusts, joining you today from Zimbabwe in rural community Murewa. And I'm proud to serve as a member of the Global Survivors Council as well. Today, I speak not only from a personal experience as a child marriage survivor, but from a place of purpose and a place of hope, a place where lived experience, advocacy, and continental collaboration, like my four speakers have mentioned, come together in service of girls across the globe. Thank you all so much. It has been 10 years since I stood before the Constitutional Court of Zimbabwe and challenged the legality of child marriage. That victory was a milestone, I should mention, and not just for me. It was a milestone not just for me, not just for my daughter, but for countless girls whose rights have been disregarded for generations. And while laws have changed, the violence persists in rural communities. It persists in urban homes, in classrooms, in religious spaces, basically everywhere. The silence is still heavy, and the shame still wrongly placed on the shoulders of survivors. And the systems meant to protect children still too often leave them behind. I speak from an experience of the programming work that I do also from Rosary Memorial Trust as a supporting officer to the case management on the safe shelter that we run. This dialogue today is one, and the ones before are also very important, I should mention, but more importantly is what follows. We are here to speak not just about what has been promised in Bogotá, but of what has been done and what remains also to be done, and what remains undone. Because it is one thing to announce and it is another to act. At the Global Ministerial Conference in Bogotá, I saw Africa rise with so much commitment. Of the 372 pledges that I read and made, nearly half of it, with 46.9%, came from the African states. And this is no small statistic. That is a clear signal that Africa is also moving boldly and intentionally. And for that, I want to applaud our member states. And with that applause must come a reminder that the commitment without transparency is not enough. Too many pledges remain on paper. Too many communities remain unaware of the promises made in their name. Too many children still wait for the change they have been promised. And when survivors, when civil society asks for evidence of progress, that request must not be met with defensiveness. It must be welcomed, because asking for accountability is not an attack. It is a form of belief. It says we believe you meant it. It says we believe it is possible. It says we believe we deserve to know. In my own country, Zimbabwe has taken meaningful steps from implementing the Marriage Act of 2022, and I'm glad to be a contributor to that, to strengthen birth registration, to strengthen ending violence and criminalizing child marriages, and developing a parental manual. I'm especially proud of our National Traditional Leaders Council, which is in the process of developing a national guide to help traditional leaders play their part in protecting children and girls from all forms of violence, and especially child marriage. These actions are encouraging, but we must also ensure they reach the people who need them most. Across Africa, because I'm from Africa, we often celebrate laws but forget to fund their implementation. We design curricula to raise awareness, but leave the burden of education on parents who cannot afford even uniforms, fees, or books. We call for more from our systems, yet fail to equip the very teachers and child protection officers responsible for the delivering that change. If we truly want to end child marriage and violence against children, we must begin with those who have already survived it. Too often, the global conversation focuses on prevention, but what about the girls who are already raising children whilst recovering from the trauma of their own stolen childhoods? What about the young mothers navigating poverty, navigating stigma and isolation? Breaking the cycle, and I will continue to mention this over and over again, breaking the cycle requires that we invest in their healing, that we see them not as problems, but also as potential and co-solution makers to our situation. I am glad that recently in June, I met a human rights defender from Thailand who mentioned that in Thailand and many other countries, we see how educating children on their rights transform communities. When children understand the laws and policies meant to protect them, they become more powerful agents of change. They can identify abuse, they can speak out, they can demand justice. And that knowledge should not be reserved for lawyers or for policymakers. It should be taught in schools, discussed in homes, and integrated in every space where children are present. I'm proud to serve as the Global Survivors Council I mentioned, where we continue to push for national and regional survivor councils, not as symbolic gestures, but as mechanisms for real active decision-making. Survivors and in survivor councils must not only be in the room, we must have a voice, a vote, and a say in how these systems evolve. We have consistently called on regional economic communities, the African Union, and even the European Parliament to include survivor voices, not as storytellers, but as strategists. The work of civil society cannot be ignored. Organizations like the one that I work at Rosario Memorial Trust are not here to compete with government, but to complement it. We do not seek to reinvent the wheel. We seek to strengthen what exists. When governments pledge to develop manuals, policies, and interventions, we can support, contextualize, and amplify that work at community level. And we do so not for recognition, but because girls cannot wait. Let this dialogue serve as a turning point, not just another space to report progress, but a space to challenge inertia, to ask uncomfortable questions, and to demand for more. Let us move from the announcement to action, from policy to practice, from hope to fulfillment. Let me end my speech by saying, let this be the generation that does not inherit silence. Let this be the world and the governments that do not only pledge, but delivers. And let this be the year that every child knows they are protected, not just by law, but in life. Thank you so much, and over to you.
Dear Loveness, thank you so much. And sorry, my connection just cut when I was so honored to introduce you, and you outspoke everyone. Thank you, as always, for your great remarks. And thank you to the Rosario Memorial Trust programs and to the Global Survivor Council. And with this, I will hand over to our next wonderful speaker and moderator, Dr. Faith Mwangi Powell, CEO of Girls Not Brides. And I just take the opportunity to hugely thank the Girls Not Brides team for everything that they're doing to end child marriage. Over to you, Faith.
Thank you so much, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me from wherever you are listening from, and thank you so much for turning up. We have almost 196 of you, so we thank you because you could have been chosen to be anywhere else and you chose to be with us. So I'm really honored to be with you, and I want to thank the WHO, UNICEF, and even my own organization, Girls Not Bright, for hosting this dialogue. I really like what, Loveness, you said, that we are here to listen to the promises which were made, what has been done, and what is yet to be done. I really like that. And the fact that you come from a place of hope and purpose. I think that is a very good way to inspire and to bring us to the conversation we want to have today. I've been introduced, so I'm not going to introduce myself again, but I work for Girls Not Brides, the global partnership to end child marriage. And this conversation to me is a great signal and an indicator to what we always say, that child marriage is violence against children. And that is what we are recognizing today. And I'm with a powerful panel today. I'm so delighted to be able to host such a powerful panel. I don't know whether the Minister for Malawi has been able to join us, Honorable Jean. I don't know whether you've been able to join us, Honorable Jean, the Minister for Malawi for Gender and Development. And I know I call you my friend because we have met many times. I was in Malawi in June, but I'm really delighted to hear what you're going to be telling us today. And we also have Mr. Abdul Khalik Sheikh, Federal Secretary, Minister for Human Rights, Government of Pakistan. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdul, for joining us. And we have Ms. Astrid Aliana Cadenas from the Institute, she's the General Director for Instituto Colombian de Bienestar Familiar. I don't know whether I've said it right. I don't speak any Spanish. This is my effort to do that, representing the government of Colombia. And as we all know, this conversation, this dialogue started from Colombia, where we all went for the first ministerial conference. So I'm delighted. And if the Minister for Malawi is here, I want to start the first question with you. So I'm not sure whether she hadn't arrived. Sabine, could you confirm?
Not yet.
Go ahead.
Not yet.
Okay.
Thanks, Faith. But you guide if probably we can stand in for her, but she might be joining.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
I can ask you the first question, Kubuana, if
You're
you are
right,
able
thank you.
to. Yeah, I will ask you the first question. And I know I've been myself personally, I've been very involved with the work you are doing to end child marriage in Malawi. So I can also help you because I was in Malawi with you in June. So the question I have for you, and I have two questions for each of our panelists, is that Malawi is a long-standing champion for ending child marriage, including your president announcing that he wants to end child marriage as soon as possible and reducing child marriage by 20% by 2030. So, and also establishing a very strong law at the minimum age of child marriage at 18 years with no exception. And then you had at the ministerial conference, you made an important policy and financial commitment to strengthen laws, access to justice for children, and also develop strategies to combat violence against children. Could you tell us what progress you have made in addressing child marriage as part of that commitment? What you have identified as the key factors which have helped you to drive change, and what continues to be the problem or the challenge? It's a loaded question, but I can repeat, but I hope you have got the question, Kubana.
Yeah. I can see that. I'm Kondwan Muhone. I'll be speaking on behalf of my honorable minister, who will be joining us. But I know we are also timed, so that we catch up with time. That's why I'm speaking on her behalf. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks for allowing Malawi to reflect on the progress since the ministerial conference last year. And as you indicated, we really made some bold commitment regarding the child protection. And when we narrowed down, we also zealed to ending child marriage within the child protection issue. Within that regard, we indicated the issue of harmonization of the law, and we also looked into the issue of coming up with a virus against children study, so that we determine where we are as we are moving on, we should know where we're coming from, and we should learn what we've been doing so that we are able to address the issue at hand. So since then, since last year, as you are also agreeing that you've been here, and I think you also attest to the fact that we've really taken a decisive step in terms of the policy. As you are aware, we launched the strategy on ending child marriage in October last year, and that was before the conference. And this year, we've together with stakeholders kickstarted strides in how do we implement the strategy. We are trying to translate the policy into action, and that relates to what I've already indicated on seeing how do we improve access to justice for children, and also accelerating the national strategies to eliminate violence against children, including child marriage. So firstly, let me indicate that as a ministry, we have started on the process of harmonization of the laws, and specifically we are looking on how do we bridge the gaps that are there in addressing or in eliminating harmful practices, including child marriage. We are also looking at how do we make sure that the enforcement mechanisms are put in place, and also how the different players that are in law enforcement are empowered or are built in their capacities to make sure that the enforcement is not an issue. Secondly, is an issue of kickstarting the dissemination of the national strategy on ending child marriage. As I indicated, we have more or less like a blueprint of what is supposed to be done, because it's a comprehensive document that is inviting almost all players in addressing child marriage. So this time around, what we are looking at is we are looking at who is supposed to be on board. At the national level, we've brought on board CSOs, we've brought on board strategic partners, including the Girls Not Brides. Thanks for always availing when we call upon. We've also brought on board some private community, including BNB and the CIF and many others, including the ministries that are responsible for addressing this issue: Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Justice, and also the Malawi Law Commission. So that as we are moving together. We've had several of engagements. We've kind of bring in the coordination and see how best we can coordinate. Thanks to GNB for spearheading the accelerator project or program. That was also giving us some energy in terms of bringing all stakeholders on board and seeing how best we can synergize from all the efforts that we have. But further to this is now looking into how do we go to the communities, to the districts. So that's what we are now doing. We are in a pipeline. We are going to start the dissemination to the districts, and the dissemination is also looking at how are the communities welcoming and making sure that their actions are seen and are being done. So I would mention to say that from November to this time, we've more or less come up with a wagon, a war team that is now ready to face all the challenges that we've had maybe in the implementation of the previous one. This time around, now we are saying, okay, how now do we go on the ground? I would also like to indicate that all this could not be possible without the partnership that I've mentioned. but most specifically because we are taking the powers from His Excellency, the state president, because he already has the political will and has already assigned us and elected us to do something, and that thing is too big for us to stay idle, but to do to work on making sure that the implementation has started. Additionally, we can throw out the support technically and even financially from the UN agencies, UNICEF, UNFPA, UN Women, and also the other support that we get from the other partners, like as I've mentioned, the Girls Not Brides Global and even the network in Malawi. However, as I'm wrapping, I would also like to mention that we still facing challenges, because at the community level, as the previous speakers have indicated, there are still some social norms that are more or less deep-rooted and are challenging us. I will not even pass to mention the issue of poverty, the issue of gender inequalities that is happening and is fueling the child marriage. And I also would like to also mention about the economic aftershocks from pandemics and even from the climate change crises. All those are bringing in some challenges that I would say that even if we are trying to, but to some extent we shall anticipate to have those challenges. However, I think we are not afraid, because we are going as a team,
so much.
and
Yeah.
we hope we are going to achieve this. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Kobana. Thank you, and really great representative for your minister. We will let her know you did a fantastic job, so thank you. And I will now move on to Mr. Abdul Khalik from Pakistan. And my question for you is that at the Global Ministerial Conference, very nice to see you. Kobana, we could not see you, but really I'm happy to be able to be joined by Mr. Abdul on the screen. I felt a bit lonely earlier. But Mr. Abdul, at the Global Ministerial Conference in Pakistan, the government reaffirmed strong commitments for strengthening and enhancing the enforcement of laws aimed at ending child marriage. Can you tell us how your government have been working towards fulfilling these commitments, and what challenges have you been able to achieve? What challenges have you faced? Sorry.
Thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to be part of this very, very useful forum, and on a topic which is very important to all of us. And it's also a great honor to represent the government of Pakistan and the Minister for Human Rights. My name is Abdul Khalik Sheikh, and I am Federal Secretary for Human Rights in Pakistan. And we have taken a number of steps to in pursuance of the pledge that we made at the Global Ministerial Conference, where Pakistan reaffirmed its commitment to ending child marriage through stronger enforcement of existing laws and reforms. So it was after this that we were able to move the Child Marriage Restraint Act in Islamabad Capital Territory Police, Capital Territory, which is capital of Pakistan, which is federal law now. So we have in Islamabad Federal Capital Territory, the age limit for the age of child is now under 18. So no one can get married before he or she attains 18. Before that, we already had passed a law in the province of Sindh. Pakistan is a federal state. It has 4 provinces. That law was passed in 2013, which is a model law for all other provinces. And now federal territory has this law. Sindh has this law. So the remaining 3 provinces are catching up, and the bills have been moved, and those are at different stages. In some provinces, it is at the cabinet, being considered by the cabinet, and some other provinces, it is being considered by the special committee, which is Legislative Committee. So as you asked for the challenges, there are serious challenges also, we must admit. And those challenges are because of the peculiar social conditions and tribal culture in certain areas. And because the bills have to go through the parliament, and parliament has representatives from all the communities, from tribal areas, and all walks of life. So sometimes it takes time to build consensus. But we have made amendments in laws to include penal sections to penalize those involved in child marriages. So that is also working very well. And there's one study which shows that child marriages in Pakistan have declined from 37% to 18% from 1993 to 2018. So although it's a big success, it's still 18% is a big challenge for us. And but if we have challenges at the same time, there are positive developments. There are so many supporters, and they are enablers for us. There is a clear political will across federal and provincial governments. Civil society, including women's and child rights organizations, have been crucial in raising awareness, supporting survivors, and driving legal reforms. So development partners, they continue to provide technical and financial support. So now, to ensure sustained momentum, the National Commission on the Rights of Child conducted nationwide consultations on the pledges made by Pakistan at the global conference. These consultations gathered input from stakeholders across sectors and provinces, helping us refining our strategy and strengthening coordination. So Pakistan has also engaged a UN Committee on the Rights of Child, Organization of Islamic Conference, and SARC platforms to share good practices and strengthening regional cooperation. So all these efforts reflect a whole of government and whole of society approach to ending child marriage in Pakistan. So we are committed to our pledge, and we have made progress in this, and the challenges are being overcome with whole of nation approach. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's really good to hear even the declines, although I agree with you that even the 18% is still a challenge, but I think you need to be applauded for that progress you have done in Pakistan, and I'm really delighted to hear. And I think you are not alone in the challenges. Every country is experiencing all these challenges. So I'll move on to Colombia now, and I'll invite Astrid. Eliana, Astrid, welcome. And I was so privileged to be able to visit Colombia during the first ministerial conference. And my question for you is that when the meeting was hosted, it was coincided with the really Congress debate on the law which banned child marriage. And my understanding is that attempts had been made 9 times in the past. But what is good news that the law has been passed and provides various entities of the national government to be responsible for implementing many of the measures created. What can you tell us about the ongoing efforts for effective implementation of the law in Colombia? What has happened since that momentous time when we all celebrated and we were all very happy? What has happened in Colombia? And I think, Astrid, you are speaking in Spanish. So anybody who wants translation, please remember to turn into the Spanish channel. Is Astrid with us?
I think we were having some issues with Astrid.
We are?
¿Están aquí con nosotros? No, I think we move to the next panelist, Faith.
Okay. All right, I'll come back to you, Kobuana, then, and say, great things, great challenges, great progress if you can summarize for us in 2 minutes, what are the critical key next steps in Malawi? What are the things you think next year, these are the things we are going to do, or even the next few months? What are the critical steps which you need to take now? In 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, I'll try to summarize. There are so many, of
Yes,
course,
please.
outlined, but I think critical is the issue of dissemination. As I indicated, we still need to go to the grassroots and make sure that every player is on board as we move. The second thing is we would also like to have a mass media awareness campaign on the same issue of child marriage, where we involve the media to help us with the dissemination of messages that are trying to help us addressing child marriage. We're also looking at how far can we go with mainstreaming child protection, including child marriages in all the ministries I've mentioned. And that also includes the Ministry of Local Government that deals with the local chiefs, so that we should not just have it as something which is not written in their guiding documents, but they should have it as an address to the chiefs. And also another critical thing is to continue lobbying for more resources, sustainable resources from a government perspective, and also development partners, including the business and the private community. So I think, as I indicated, there are so many steps that we are supposed to take. Yeah. Another area I think which I also omitted is an issue of our laws. We are still working hand in hand with the Malawi Law Commission to help us do an audit and guide us in which direction we are going to take, so that this issue of having gaps in the laws is history. Yeah, so I'll stop there for now.
Thank you so much. Thank
you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate what you're saying, and I know Malawi well. So, Mr. Abdul, you did talk about a lot of the challenges, and one of our key speaker today reminded us on including survivor voices. So how is the government of Pakistan including survivor voices as you move forward in your planning?
Yeah, I think maybe there's an issue with the video. Probably it's working now.
Shall I repeat again?
We can see and hear you.
I got it. I got it.
Oh, great.
So, so actually we have we are focusing on 5 main areas. The first, we are conducting a legal gap analysis to ensure that all provinces and federal laws align with international standards, especially setting 18 as a minimum legal age of marriage. The second thing is we are scaling up training for child protection professionals. The third is that we are working on streamlining data collection related to child marriage and survivors of violence. For the government, in collaboration with development partners, is finalizing a joint work plan that outlines coordinated interventions for ending these practices. And finally, we are developing a national work plan on positive parenting. The initiative aims to support parents and caregivers with tools to delay early marriages by promoting education, health, and protection of children, especially girls. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough, you and Kobwana. Unfortunately, our last panel wasn't able to join us, but I want to thank you for the things you are doing. And for us as a civil society and myself as Girls Not Brides, we are very happy to be in solidarity with your government, because we know leadership from the government is important, and we need to work together and supplement some of the efforts you are doing so that we can together really end child marriage. So I want to thank you for really very clear and progressive way you are handling this issue. We know that it's challenging, but thank you for what you have shared today. Thank you, Kobwana. Please convey our gratitude to the minister when she's able to join, and I hope the nominations go well. And now I have the pleasure of introducing my friend and partner. I would say partner in crime, Dr. Tabitha Mpira, who we work under the 2-0 initiative. I'm so delighted that Tabitha, you are here and you are going to take us through the next panel. So over to you to introduce yourself and introduce the next panel. And I'm so delighted to have been able to speak to our ministers and our governments who are really important allies in this work. Thank you, and over to you, Tabitha.
Thank you, Dr. Faith. It's such a pleasure and honor to be part of this. Tabitha Mpira, and I am founder of Bogotá Global Healing, where we invest in those who invest in others and heal the healers, so to speak, and also co-founder of Brave Movement, which is a survivor-centered advocacy. So it is such a pleasure. With little time, we're going to try to get in as much as we possibly can. Thank you all, the government and everybody who has already spoken. Loveness, that was absolutely incredible, the work you're doing. As Veronica mentioned, 12 million girls are impacted by this. And so we don't even have the numbers of those who are impacted as a result of these girls. And I'm one of those who my mother would have been a child bride who happened to be smart enough or in that moment to be able to pretend to have a psychotic break that made them send her away because they did not want to marry off a crazy kid. And as a result, was able to find a way to escape. And not many people are able to do that. And so I would have been impacted had she not had somebody hold her hand to get out of that, like all those 12 million girls are. And so with that, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce people who are doing this work on the ground. We know that if you want to go fast, you go alone. You want to go far, we go together. So with the government and policies and the CSO leaders and each and every one of you on this call, it takes all of us because it is preventable and we can get through this. So without any more, I want us to, if you could allow me to just take 2 seconds, put on my psychologist hat and say, all of us are impacted in one way or another by each other, and some stories could be shared here. So if we could take 3 breaths to just ground ourselves, that as we jump into all the, if anybody could be triggered, people with lived experience, it is kind of our way we do a Brave Movement. So give me a couple seconds, wherever you are. I'm pretending I can see all 700 of you. Either you close your eyes or take a moment to ground your feet. And with Loveness's words of hope and purpose, just bring to your mind a world where children are free of abuse of marriage, where everybody's happy and thriving. And we're going to do 3 breaths, in through your nose and out. And the magic is in the exhale. And 1, 2 more, breathe in. Imagining a world where all children are free and safe. And last one. All right, thank you. So if anybody's triggered at any point for any reason or not at all, let's just kind of come present with each other as I present to us our 3 incredible doers. We'll start with Diana Moreno, who's the Director of Advocacy at Pro Familia Colombia. And she has, I'll keep the introductions short so we have more time for them to share. And next, Zara Aga, who's the Head of Human and Institutional Development Civil Society Support Program. It is such a pleasure to have you. Saba Lishan, our Coordinator of African Partnership to End Violence Against Children, African Child Policy Forum. So a lot to say about each individual, but I think we'd rather hear from them and all the incredible work they're doing in ending this fight once and for all. So welcome each and every one of you. With that, over to Diana, we're going to start with you. Please.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Tabitha. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Please go ahead with your question.
Welcome.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
So feel free to add in anything you want to share about who you are, but as you're answering this question, because I did not want to do injustice to all the incredible work you've done, could you share with us, please, the ways in which Pro Familia is contributing to the implementation of Colombia's new law that's banning child marriage and early unions? And I'm going to kind of make these 2-in-1 kind of questions, right? And within that, what additional support or actions do you consider are needed to ensure effective and sustained implementation. It's a little bit of two-in-one. Over to you, Dan.
Thank you, Tabitha. Hello everyone, and thank you for having us as Pro Familia here. I happen to be the advocacy director at Pro Familia in Colombia. Pro Familia is a 60-year-old organization that is a member association of IPPF and also works hardly to promote sexual and reproductive rights. And on your question around what we are doing to promote the end of child marriage and forced unions and forced marriage in our country, I would like to congratulate and to celebrate here that just at the beginning of this year, we were able to have the final signature and approbation for the law 2447 of 2025 to be approved, by which Colombia passed a law that prohibits early marriage in a way that does not include criminal sanctions, but includes the creation of or the inclusion within the national public policy on children and adolescents of a national program called Proyectos de Vida, working or projects for a dignified life that in a way seeks to prevent and also to provide attention to those who have been involved in this practice. So as Pro Familia, we participated at the time and together with Girls Not Brides, of course, into advocating for this law to pass. And now we have, I would say, what is the biggest challenge of all as a country, which is to make sure that the law does translate into the reality of children and adolescents. So Pro Familia has been taking some steps in order to ensure this law becomes a reality. One is that we have been working together with the ICBF, our local authority, which I see Astrid has already joined us. She said hello in the chat. From the government that are very committed also into trying to push and implement this law. So we have been working together in the creation of the plan of implementation of the law with different actors and authority, hoping that this includes also the voices of civil society that are closer to the ground and that are in a way more connected to what the community needs. We have also been creating a space for civil society specifically in order to pool efforts and resources to consolidate social and institutional alliances that bring together different movements and sectors to support the implementation of the law. We are also, we believe a big challenge that we currently have, and we want to work towards it during the next months and years, is to be able to build and to support the participation of girls and adolescents as main protagonists of this change for Colombia. They participated in the advocacy for the law, and now they should be and have specific spaces in the implementation of the law. So how these spaces are going to look like, how is it that this participation is going to be promoted, is still to be designed, and we are thinking about it from a local perspective. And finally, and with this I'll end to give the word to other panelists. We think we are also in a moment of having communication strategies that will complement the dissemination and awareness rising around the law. Because of course, this comes not only with getting to know that the law has passed and what it symbolizes, but also the whole cultural strategy around what creates changes on the ground on how early child marriage and forced marriages should not be allowed by any actor as a society, right? So cultural change within communications is also a big point from what we are doing currently and on our way forward. Thank you, Tabitha.
Thanks, Diana. And thank you for also maintaining the time, and as well as implementation is everything. We can have all the laws we want, but if they're not people like you making it happen on the ground to make the change for those who are impacted. So thank you so much. Zara, I am coming to you with the same amount of time, 5 minutes max, which is so hard to do when you're doing such amazing work. But you're magicians, so we can do this. So could you please share with us what you consider are the priority actions needed to accelerate progress in addressing child marriage in Pakistan? And again, two questions in one. I'll be happy to repeat it later. How can the government effectively build on its existing commitments to further strengthen these efforts?
Thank you so much, Tabitha, and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to contribute this very crucial conversation. Introducing myself, I'm Zara from Pakistan, and I work for a civil society organization, CSSP, that basically works on social justice with a special focus on gender and climate change. I speak today from my experience as a civil society representative and particularly working on gender justice at the grassroots level in Pakistan and specifically in the Sindh province. As rightly shared by our Federal Secretary of Ministry of Human Rights, Pakistan has recently made a notable legislative stride, and we saw the enactment of Early Child Marriage Restraint Act in the Islamabad Capital Territory. And the good thing is that the new law basically repealed the outdated legislation and also introduced stronger punishments for the violation. So it was a very welcoming step, and we believe that this particular legislation will be providing a significant shift in acknowledging the early child marriage as not just a traditional social norm, but also as a form of violence and also a fundamental human rights violation. And we believe that this particular legislation would help to help other provinces who are still on their way to legislate on the early child marriage to follow suit and to introduce legal reforms in the other provinces as well. As part of our work in the Sindh province in Pakistan, we have witnessed that how legal reforms, legal frameworks actually act as enablers, and they provide space for advocacy, for public awareness, and for community engagement. If I talk about how my organization is contributing to early child marriage issue, we have been engaged with local authorities, district administrations, and to improve the case reporting and survivor support mechanisms. And we've also established women leadership forums at district levels to actually lead and serve the purpose of referrals and referral functions, as well as the prevention function. So we are actually engaging grassroots communities to lead the process of bringing the change that we want. However, we do know that all these efforts are not without the challenges. And despite isolated legal gains that Pakistan has sought so far, we still see that Pakistan is counted among the countries that have highest reported child marriage cases. And I think one of the reasons could be inconsistent legislation, but other is that there is a weaker implementation and enforcement of the existing laws. So that itself is one of the very prominent challenges. And we also see, for example, if I talk about my province that has enacted this particular legislation a decade ago, we still see that the legislation does not improve situation, and we see the cases are still continuously rising, even in the provinces that do have the legislation. So we see that maybe the implementation side could support in bringing that required change. Also, I'd like to highlight that at the core of the child marriage issue in Pakistan, it is basically rooted in broader structural issues. So, for example, poverty, gender inequality, harmful social norms, and the emerging risk that we are seeing now is the climate change crisis. And we have witnessed that how climate change is exacerbating the cases of child marriages. And Pakistan is among the top 10 countries most vulnerable to climate change. And in 2022, Pakistan witnessed catastrophic floods that displaced almost 33 million people. And it submerged almost 1/3 of the population. And therefore, we saw a notable rise in the child marriage cases. And a phenomena was discussed all over the country titled monsoon brides. where we saw that families overwhelmed by the loss and displacement were taking it as a coping mechanism, and they were resorted to marrying off their daughters. And this particular thing is very difficult, and we believe and we are afraid that if this thing persists, this will undo all the progress that Pakistan has made so far. So some recommendations that that could help the government to prioritize that how they can tackle around this issue is, the first recommendation is that it is important to harmonize the legislation, because as of now, out of 4 provinces, 2 provinces do have that legislation, while 3 are still on the way to legislate. So I think it is important to harmonize the legislation across the board with no exceptions. Second recommendation is to strengthen the implementation mechanism by building the capacities of local officials, social workers, police, and all the people who are working on the ground. Third recommendation is to invest in community-led prevention by collaborating with civil society organizations, local youth groups, and women-led organizations. My fourth recommendation would be to prioritize education, health, and vocational training for adolescent girls. And my last recommendation would be to integrate child marriage prevention into climate adaptation frameworks and disaster response frameworks. I believe that if Pakistan, my country, is serious about ending child marriage, it must go beyond policy commitments, and it has to adopt a multi-sectoral and intersectional approach where tackling legal gaps, where tackling social norms, and where tackling climate vulnerability has to be done simultaneously. And I think platforms like these, the digital dialogue that we are doing today, are very effective in holding the governments responsible and accountable for the pledges that they do. And I truly want to appreciate all the organizers for having us today and for doing the great work that you are doing. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Zara. I hope all the other governments were also taking notes of those recommendations. I'm sure, Pakistan, because we all can use all of those incredible work you're doing and the call to action for all governments. As we know, those closest to the issue are closest to the solution as well. So CSOs, grassroots, youth, all of the people being included in these conversations is so important. And so thank you so much. We are going to move to Saba if you are nearby. And also 5 minutes. This is the easiest panel to moderate. Everybody's just keeping on time and just getting to the point. Love it. So Saba, as the African Child Policy Forum, we know is a Pan-African CSO leading efforts to advance the well-being of children on the continent, including through the African Partnerships in Violence Against Children. So reflecting on those commitments made by African states at the Global Ministerial Conference, I actually remember seeing you there, alongside broader national initiatives, which pledges specifically aimed at ending child marriage stand out as the most promising, and why? I can repeat that. And there's 2 questions again to all of this. So let me just say it all, and I'll be happy to repeat if it all got lost in the long question. All right. So which pledges specifically aimed at ending child marriage stand out the most for you as promising, and why, by the African governments? And what key opportunities do you see to build on the existing commitments to accelerate progress toward ending child marriage across the continent?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Davita. And thank you for that beautiful exercise as well. It's my honor to be here representing the African Child Policy Forum. As a region, despite recent progress in sub-Saharan Africa, over 127 million girls and women alive today were married as children. That is more than the entire population of Egypt, the 3rd most populous country in Africa. And as evidence shows us, at its current pace, the region is over 200 years away from ending child marriage. But we are all encouraged by what the Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children has given rise to. Out of the 42 African countries with a prevalence rate of more than 20% and high burden countries, 16 have made pledges to end child marriage at that seminal conference. And out of these 16, 2 countries, Burkina Faso and DRC, particularly stand out for their comprehensive and sharper focus to address this complex and most pervasive form of violence against children. Why? Well, one is the extent to which these governments are committed to addressing the intersecting root causes of child marriage, challenging harmful gender and social norms, promoting gender equality, as well as transforming the overall environment into one where girls are valued for more than their reproductive roles. For example, Burkina Faso pledged to raise the legal minimum age of marriage of girls to 18 by 2030, along with a very strong component to strengthen families and women's capacity to better care for their children. The Democratic Republic of Congo is committed to extending free secondary education and access to adolescent-tailored information and services, which not only empower girls, but also contribute to more adolescent girls delaying marriage. And 2 is the country's commitment to enable children to play active role in the fight against child marriage. Here, DRC has committed to substantive investment to increase the number of structures for children's participation in all schools and childcare facilities. Dr. Tabitha, but I would also like to mention an additional 6 more countries: Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, that have also made strong commitment to invest in multi-sectoral action. And as the distinguished secretary from Pakistan mentioned, a whole society action to effectively respond to this interconnected drivers of child marriage. So in terms of opportunities, we see 3 important areas for accelerating the elimination of child marriage in our continent. First is the increasing leadership role played by the African Union in further strengthening the normative frameworks against this violation of children's rights. For example, earlier this year, the African Union adopted a convention on ending violence against women and girls, the first legal binding framework of its kind on our continent, covering all forms of violence against children, including harmful practices, but more importantly, child marriage. Second is the important role being played by the regional economic communities to advance children's rights and well-being in the sub-regions in setting the standards and coordinating member states' action. I could mention here the Southern Africa Development Community's model law on eradicating child marriage and protecting children already who are in marriage as a key instrument to accelerate progress. And finally, the growing evidence based on effective gender transformative programming that can support the fight against this pervasive form of violence against children, particularly girls. Are important developments in our region, but also globally. So Dr. Tabitha, I would like to mention these few areas, and I thank you. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. I think in our, as you've captured all the opportunities in all the countries that are doing incredible work, sometimes we forget to stop and see the progress as we're fighting toward better. And I just want to take a moment to just appreciate you capturing that. And wherever you are, I was doing some claps and snaps for all the countries that are enacting and all the implementers that are on here. Thank you so much, Saba, for your representation, for the wonderful speech. I'm going to pass it over. We wanted to, hopefully we can get some time for some Q&A, but before then, if not possible, I want to pass this back over to Dr. Faith so that we can hear from somebody else. Thank you so much, Zara, Sava, and Diana.
Wow. I'm also been clapping here. Amazing conversation. Thank you. We wish we had more time. I want to try and reach back out to Astrid from Colombia. Astrid, I don't know whether you are able to join us. I have heard you've been trying to reach us, and sorry for all the challenges you're having with your internet. Maybe the translator can confirm whether Astrid is with us, and I can ask the question. Great. Really good to see you, Astrid. Yeah, so
Sí, acá
Astrid
estoy
is a general.
escuchándoles.
Go ahead.
No, feliz de escucharles, realmente son
Fantastic.
perfecto, ¿me escuchan?
And I can hear you perfect. Great. Yes. Yes. So I have a question. When we were last in
Muchísimas
Colombia,
gracias.
muchas gracias. Yeah. So when we were last in Colombia, this is my question, in 2024 November, during the ministerial conference, we also had a big celebration because the last debate of Congress passed the law to ban child marriage with no exceptions in Colombia. And I understand this is something you had tried for 9 times. So I just applaud your resilience for really having really moved forward with this. So the law provides that different entities in government to take on different measures, really implementing the law. So I wanted you to update us. Where are you now? What's happening now in Colombia? And I say that you'll be speaking in Spanish. So I requested everybody who cannot understand Spanish like myself to turn on to their channels for translation. So you have 5 minutes to just tell us what is going on in Colombia right now after the law. Thank you, Astrid. And please also introduce yourself so that we all get a full picture. I could not pronounce the name of the organization. So please, the name of your department. So please do that.
Gracias, Fay. Muchísimas gracias a las compañeras de panel. Por ahí vi a Sabine, un saludo especial. A Diana de Profamilia, que también es compañera aquí de Colombia. Muchas gracias por el saludo. Bueno, Fay, contarte en 5 minutos un resumen después de la conferencia ministerial y qué viene pasando. El país llevaba básicamente 20 años discutiendo sobre el matrimonio infantil y había presentado ya, como tú comentas, 9 veces un proyecto de ley. Y por fin en este gobierno y bajo un consenso muy importante que implicó varios partidos, incluso no muy de acuerdo dentro de sus posturas políticas en general, pero muy de acuerdo en el tema de parar el matrimonio infantil, se ponen de acuerdo sobre todo mujeres, porque aquí estamos hablando de un combo, un grupo de mujeres muy fuertes que se ponen de acuerdo y sacan adelante este proyecto de ley que ahora ya es ley, ¿no? Sabemos que la legislación no basta para cambiar una cultura, que necesitamos unas acciones más fuertes porque la cultura requiere procesos que van un poco más allá de aprobar una ley. Pero esta ha sido uno de los hitos históricos para la protección de la niñez en Colombia y pues lo celebramos, ¿no? ¿Con qué arrancamos? Lo primero con levantar una línea base de cuál era la situación real que estábamos encontrando. Nosotros tenemos un observatorio para la niñez que nos presenta ya el primer informe y nos va haciendo análisis por edades, encontrando pues 15 a 17, cuántos de estos uniones, la mayoría son uniones temporales, son uniones no de ley, sino uniones espontáneas, y cuántas de estas han terminado en divorcios, cuántas han sido de zonas rurales, el nivel de afectación para las niñas indígenas en particular, que es más fuerte, el nivel de afectación para las niñas campesinas o de zonas rurales apartadas, que es más fuerte, y cómo esta línea base también nos ayuda a ligar la situación crítica del embarazo adolescente. Entonces, con este marco de línea base, es que nosotros arrancamos con el plan de intervención, ¿no? En ese plan de intervención ya tenemos una campaña diseñada, tenemos hasta una canción, nuestro manejo son niñas, no esposas, es como lo estamos trabajando, y al ser niñas y no esposas, se teje desde la música, desde la cultura, porque el cambio cultural requiere arte, requiere teatro, requiere esas otras experiencias sensoriales para poder cambiar la cultura, y eso es lo que nos espera aquí con este plan de acción, ¿no? Con unos territorios focalizados, ¿no? Gracias, Fay. No sé si me pasé.
Thank you so much. No. Great. You did a fantastic job. Thank you for letting us know. We are running out of time, so I will not ask you the next question, but I'll ask our colleagues to be able to put any questions you have on the chat so that we can then, we can even respond to you because you registered to this webinar. We will respond to you. We will not have the Q&A. So I will now hand over to Shari from WHO to tell us the next steps. Thank you so much, Astrid. Thank you. Sherry, thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Faith. Dear colleagues, it's a real pleasure to be here with you at this digital dialogue today to share an overview of the WHO recommendations on preventing child marriage based on the guideline we launched in May. I've really enjoyed listening to all the speakers today, rich discussions and interventions. So my name is Sherry Bastine. I work as a scientist, and just as a bit of background, WHO's work on child marriage sits within the Department of Sexual and Reproductive Health and Research, specifically under the Rights and Equality Across the Life Course unit. In her powerful opening remarks at our webinar launch, our director, Pascal Alloté, reminded us that this is not just a guideline, it is a lifeline. The recommendations I will present today are actionable, achievable, and urgently needed to safeguard the futures of adolescent girls worldwide. I see the next slide has already progressed, so that's great, thank you. So some additional background. In 2011, WHO released its first guideline on preventing early pregnancy and poor reproductive outcomes among adolescents. Following that, stakeholders from both within and outside the UN system called for an update reflecting the growing body of research evidence alongside programmatic experience that has since emerged. In addition, the field itself has evolved from broader efforts targeting all adolescents to more targeted approaches that focus on groups consistently left behind. The 2025 guideline responds to this shift and comprises two interrelated components. First, improving access to, uptake of, and continued use of contraception. Second, preventing child marriage, the focus of today's presentation. Next slide, please. So on this slide, you see a figure that summarizes the recommendations and good practice statements outlined in the guideline. The purpose here is simply to show how these actions span across the different levels of the social ecological framework, from the individual level all the way to the policy and societal levels. This highlights an essential takeaway. Tackling child marriage requires multi-level, multi-sectoral approaches. Next slide, please. So let's walk through the 6 key recommendations from WHO on preventing child marriage, starting with a focus on girls and strengthening their power and voice. Firstly, WHO recommends the implementation of interventions to empower girls by building their knowledge, skills, assets, and social networks. These strengthen girls' ability to make informed decisions, builds resilience, and reduces vulnerability. Interventions that are girl-centered and link girls to safe spaces and services show the most promise. Next, we zoom out to the broader environment. The second recommendation draws attention to the need for programs to engage with parents and guardians, boys and men, and the broader community to create and sustain a gender equitable and enabling environment. Building girls' assets alone is not enough. It must go hand in hand with challenging harmful norms and fostering supportive environments. So now let's consider the role that economics play. The third recommendation relates to offering conditional incentives, such as linking cash transfers to school attendance or remaining unmarried. These incentives reduce economic pressure and encourage families to keep girls in school, opening up long-term opportunities. Fourth relates to the essential role of access to education. WHO recommends the implementation of interventions to remove gender-related barriers to education and ensure completion of 12 years of quality education. And this is because we know that education delays marriage, reduces early pregnancy, and improves both health and economic outcomes. Evidence shows that interventions addressing tuition costs, food provision, and academic support are most effective. Moving now to economic empowerment. WHO recommends the implementation of interventions aimed at improving girls' financial literacy, access to savings, and employment skills and prospects, and to expand alternatives to early marriage. Vocational training, life skills development, mentoring, and access to job opportunities are promising strategies on this front. Finally, we come to the importance of legal protections. Laws prohibiting marriage under age 18 are crucial, but must be paired with supportive programs to ensure they are effective and avoid unintended harm. Taken together, these 6 recommendations form a multifaceted and comprehensive approach to ending child marriage. Next slide, please. Building on the recommendations, WHO also outlines 3 good practice statements. Though labeled as such, these should be treated as strong recommendations when it comes to implementation. The first good practice statement speaks to the importance of mobilizing political, governmental, religious, traditional, and other influential leaders, given the fact that they shape norms and influence behaviors, and mobilizing them can help to legitimize and sustain changes in attitudes towards early marriage. Next, inclusion is critical. Efforts to uphold the rights of women and girls must also speak to the specific needs of ever married girls, including those in formal or informal unions. And this is because they are often overlooked in policies and programs, despite facing high risks and unique challenges. And finally, we must engage adolescents, not just as beneficiaries, but as active contributors and equal partners in efforts. This statement calls for their meaningful involvement in the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of all efforts to address their needs and rights. Their participation ensures that interventions are not only relevant and effective, but also empowering. These good practice statements complement the 6 core recommendations, together forming a powerful framework to prevent child marriage and uphold the rights of girls. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, I will not go over each step laid out in the slide, but would like to flag that the second objective of the guideline was to provide an analytical framework for policymakers and program managers to use when selecting evidence-based interventions. And this is absolutely crucial because we want the guideline to be used by countries to strengthen their programs and policies. I would just encourage everyone to carefully review the guideline for further details on the process of setting priorities, selecting interventions, striking a balance between global goals and local needs, and ensuring robust M&E of programs is conducted. Next slide, please. Before wrapping up, I'd like to briefly introduce one additional support tool to help move these recommendations from abstract principles to actionable plans. Logic models have been developed to map out the pathway to our intended outcomes. You can see a portion of one on this slide. The models are designed to support program planning, M&E, and we hope they'll soon be published in full in an upcoming journal article. And finally, I just want to underscore that this isn't just a WHO guideline. It was developed by and belongs to the entire community. And we see this shared resource as a shared responsibility and look forward to working with you on its dissemination and updates. So please do get in touch. I would like to end off by acknowledging with gratitude the substantive contributions to the development of the guideline by many technical experts as well as the funders. I hope this brief presentation has helped spotlight the urgent actions needed, moving beyond current government pledges towards bold new commitments that empower every adolescent not to survive, but to thrive and to actively shape their own future. As Loveness reminded us in her inspiring keynote, it is one thing to announce, it is another to act, and the time to act is now. And with that, I would now like to hand back to Sabine with thanks to the organizers for extending this opportunity to share the guideline recommendations. Over to you, Sabine.
Thank you very much, Sherry. Also on behalf of the WHO. Before giving closing remarks back to you, Faith, I really want to thank wonderful speakers. I mean, Faith and Tabitha, you did an incredible job at moderating, great government speakers. Muchas gracias, Astrid, también. Really wonderful to hear the government commitment. It's sad. We know child marriage is a form of violence. We know that violence is a driver of child marriage. It perpetuates gender inequalities and structural violence. So the link between violence and child marriage is so strong. As mentioned, this is part of a digital dialogue series. The next one is on child-centered justice. I've seen so many great recommendations. Please join us for the parenting sessions, the school-based intervention sessions. We know that these are also solutions for ending child marriage, as we've just heard from Sherry. And with that, I want to hand over to Faith for wonderful closing remarks. And thank you again very much to Girls Not Brides for everything that they've done in organizing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sabine. Thank you, everyone. You have been great. We still have 141 of you, so thank you. I'm not going to take a minute longer than necessary. And I want to close by the words of Loveness. Loveness said that we need to approach this issue with hope and purpose. So we need to come with hope and purpose because when we heard from UNICEF, they told us that child marriage is a solvable issue, and they demonstrated to us some of the areas where we have made progress across many countries where the global program is working. We had great leadership from government of Canada and government from Malawi, Pakistan, and even Colombia. And we need government as our partners because we cannot do this alone. They are our partners, they are allies, and the civil society, survivor voices, we need everyone. And I think what we are calling here is saying that commitments are fantastic. Commitments are powerful. They really create a signal that everybody is serious in making this issue solvable. But commitments are not enough. We want more. We want the commitments to be implemented. We want the promise. We want the implementation, and we want the achievement. We know there are challenges as well, but if we work together, those challenges are not insurmountable. So I wanted to also acknowledge that some of the things we've been asked is greater leadership from our regional entities, the AU, the SADC, the Southern Africa Regional Development Corporation. We also learned about some of the WHO guidelines, which we've just concluded with here, which really provides a very clear roadmap on what we need to do, not just for those at risk of child marriage, but even those who are already married. We always have to think about, what about the girls who are already married? For me, what I take from this conversation is that child marriage is solvable if we really mean business. But we can only do it if we work together. So I'm just going to thank all of you and to say whatever it is you can do within your sphere of influence, whether it's talking to your government, whether it's talking to your family, whether it's talking to your friends, whatever you can do within your sphere of influence, I want you to go and start now, because it will take all of us to really unlock and get our girls to where they need to be. I always say I'm a CEO. If there are so many girls who would love to be a CEO like myself, and whatever you are doing yourselves, there are so many girls who would have liked to be in a platform such as this one, but they can't because they are married. And there are so many getting married today, even as we speak. So my call on you is do what you got to do within your sphere of influence, use the knowledge you have had here today, and have an amazing afternoon, evening, night, wherever time zone you are on. Have a great time, and thank you, and see you on the next panel. And thank you, Sabine and the team. I really applaud even my co-panelists and also moderator, Stabida. I really acknowledge your work and the great things you're doing. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.